Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
It's past time to bench Deshaun Watson, but will the Browns really be that much better with Jameis Winston? Also, the Mets' magic lives on, and the Jets fired the wrong coach.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Cleveland Browns lost again on Sunday, falling to 1-4 on the season, leaving many to wonder, at what point do the Browns make the move away from Deshaun Watson, who has statistically been one of the worst quarterbacks to start the season this century? Jeff Lloyd from Locked On Browns joins me now. And Jeff, head coach Kevin Stefanski had to come out and say, look, we are not making a quarterback change. I ask you, why not?
I don't have a good reason. I do not have a good reason. You look at what he's done, and look, not north of 200 yards through 5 games. And I think the most disappointing thing about all of this is the last we saw of Deshaun Watson in 2023 was the best version we had seen of Deshaun Watson in his entire time with the Cleveland Browns. Yeah. Everything on this team isn't working. You know, you could get better running back play, you could get better wide receiver play, offensive line play, quarterback play, defensive line play, linebacker play. The linebackers actually aren't that bad. Secondary's struggling. But this would be
that, Jeff, how's it going?
Yes, but the point here would be is, why don't you see if it looks different? And look, a lot of people, what do you have in DTR? You brought Jameis Winston here for a reason. Mm-hmm. You really thought, hey, what if we had to go to a second option? What if he goes out there and maybe some of these things that look like warts maybe aren't? Look, he's running from a lot of pressure that isn't there. Is he getting pressured a ton? Yeah, there's no denying that. There's no denying that. And a lot of quarterbacks go through this, but not when you've been in the league as long as Deshaun Watson. The thing that I find the ultimate frustrating point of all of this is you already punted on 2022 to acquire Deshaun Watson, understanding, he was going to mix X amount of games. Then it got extended to even more, 11 games. So you punted that whole season. Last year, you found success, 11-6. Look, I think the Browns probably would have achieved the same amount of success in 2023 if Deshaun was going to continue to play. It looked like it was trending that way. But now you are so far behind the 8 ball as where you are with your quarterback. I just doesn't make any sense. And look, if this is, everybody just all in, look, we're going to let him figure it out. Well, that's great, but fans don't want to hear, when they thought all off season long they were going to compete for a title, the AFC North title, that you're going to hope he figures himself out. And if it doesn't, then, we'll figure out where we're going to go for 25. Nobody wants to hear that. And look, even if it's a game, even if it's a week, if Jameis goes out there and the result is pretty much similar, then it is a whole 53-man roster issue. But if he were not to do that, and go out there and all of a sudden this team played competitive, they were able to actually play a full 60 minutes of football on the offensive side of the ball, it would, certainly create bigger problems. Look, it's sunken cost at this point. It's money that was, look, all of it, I get it, and nobody wants to see something that you put so much into financially and, of course, draft pick compensation to just have it not work out. But you're telling me 2 guys who graduated from Ivy League schools, a guy who is a business billionaire, look at this and say, it's working, or we think it's going to work. Look, nobody tried harder than me to defend his play and think that it was maybe starting to, gravitate towards somewhere. It's not. It is just not. And at this point, it's really hard to find a way for this team as the schedule gets harder to believe that they are going to all of a sudden just turn it on, especially your quarterback.
Isn't part of this too the other 52 guys in that locker room to say, hey, you guys are busting your ass every day. You're going through we want you to play through pain. We want you to deal with all of it. No one's 100%. We're only 5 weeks into the season. Everyone's banged up already. And we want you to fight through this, even though we know we're putting out a quarterback who is hurting the team when we have something else we could at least try here. Like if you're Myles Garrett, if you're Denzel Ward, How do you look at those guys and say, you keep fighting?
You're absolutely right. Look, Myles Garrett right now is dealing with something that's most likely going to have to be surgically repaired in the offseason. He's had issue with his feet since he was a kid. He had a surgery then. It looks like it's time to have it repaired again. Myles Garrett to miss practice is crazy. Even though he's that type of player, it's okay to miss a practice or two. But the fact that he isn't practicing knows how dinged up he is. Denzel, how about you look at Nick Chubb? All that he's gone through in the last, which is now 13 months. And he's trying to come back. And, you're looking at him and it is only a 1-year deal. So you're going to play him. But coming back to what? This guy is going to risk an insane recovery, knee injury, all of that stuff a second time. And if he doesn't play this week, he could be coming back to a team that is 1-5. You really have to read the room on this. And look, players, when media is around, most of the time they will say the right thing. Mm-hmm. But are you telling me right now, a player like Jerry Jeudy, who was wide open for a touchdown on Sunday, who came here and his opportunity was, I'm finally going to a place they're going to feed, and none of this is going on. It's just a terrible product right now. And look, you can't sub out all 22, but if you look at the quarterback and you look at the numbers and you look at how insignificant those numbers truly are, you'd be a fool to say, well, let's just at least try it for a week and see if we get a different result. I opened the show the other day and it was basically reading the definition of insanity. And to continue to do this is 100%. The continue, is just the definition of insanity. You have nothing to go on that makes you think that all of a sudden he's going to walk into Philadelphia, go 25 of 31, 289, 3 scores, no interceptions. There is nothing in your right mind. It'd be the equivalent of winning a lottery ticket that he went out there on Sunday and all of a sudden, looked like a top quarterback in the league.
Stay up to date on the Cleveland Browns all year long by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Browns on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, the Mets are moving on. Before we get to that, Wednesday was the last day with more than 2 baseball games on the schedule. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live event even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more near you. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Tigers, yes, the Detroit Tigers are 1 win away from the ALCS.
Derek Skubal dominates. Kerry Carpenter is a superhero. And the Detroit Tigers tie the ALDS at 1 game apiece. I don't even know what to do with my hands. I am flabbergasted. This team is just unbelievable. And that, I mean that by the truest sense of the word. They defy belief over and over and over again. It's a 1-1 series. The Tigers win 3-0. They now have home field advantage in the final 3 games. What went right? We're not burying the lead. Kerry Carpenter, 111 miles an hour off the bat, a 423-foot bomb to right field. An absolute no-doubter off of the best reliever in the sport.
The Yankees traveled to KC for the Royals' first home game in the playoffs since 2015, and they wanted to avoid falling behind on the road.
Yankees now find themselves one win away from the American League Championship Series, and the biggest game of the night, Giancarlo Stanton. Yankees only had 4 hits in the game. Giancarlo Stanton with 3 of them. A stolen base. Everyone had that on their bingo card. And one of the biggest home runs of the entire year for the New York Yankees. You get a Game 4 with Garrett Cole on the mound tomorrow night and a chance to go to the American League Championship Series. We'll cover all of it on Locked On Yankees at 10:30. See you there.
Meanwhile, in the NFL, Spencer Rattler will get the nod for the Saints at quarterback this week.
Well, Dennis Allen wasted absolutely no time with that one. I'm Ross Jackson, host of the Locked On Saints podcast. New Orleans Saints head coach Dennis Allen announcing after his post-practice presser that Spencer Rattler, New Orleans Saints rookie quarterback, will be the starter up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers while Derek Carr is out with injury. Derek Carr, of course, dealing with that oblique injury, so is expected to be out and miss a couple of weeks. And Dennis Allen wasted absolutely no time coming out and immediately announcing rookie Spencer Rattler to be the starting quarterback. So this is going to be a very interesting one for New Orleans. They're going to get a little bit more mobility at their quarterback spot, get a guy that everybody's very excited about, although everyone is expecting, of course, that there are going to be some growing pains, things like that. He's a young quarterback. That was always going to be the case. Now we get an opportunity to see the New Orleans Saints starting rookie quarterback here in week 6. A lot of excitement going to come out from this one. Make sure you're keeping up with it over at Locked On Saints.
The Mets did it. They knocked off the Philadelphia Phillies and are headed to the National League Championship Series. Locked On Mets host Ryan Finkelstein looked at just how the Mets pulled this off.
What an unbelievable season and an unbelievable game. There's one moment to talk about before anything else, and that is the grand slam by Francisco Lindor, because the New York Mets early in this game, it was looking like the type of game where the Phillies could have got back into this series because Ranger Suarez was not sharp. The Mets had multiple bases loaded opportunities where they just were expanding the zone, not being themselves. And it's understandable. You're trying to make something happen. You're being aggressive. You see the writing on the wall. You want to get the job done. You don't want to go back and face Zach Wheeler at Citizens Bank Park. And the Phillies really kept Wheeler in the back pocket. They said they were going to go with Ranger Suarez in the bullpen to try to get the job done, and they would have had an advantage in that Game 5. So you're staring up against that. Very similar to, I think, 1986, before my time, where they didn't want to face, what was it, Dick Scott with the scuffed baseball, so they had to win Game 6. Kind of a similar vibe, right? You had to win this game, and there was so many chances early where the Mets just could not get that big hit with runners in scoring position. Jose Quintana was brilliant. The Mets just hung in there, and then finally you get the right guy up. And the right guy is Francisco Lindor. This season, I love this comment. We'll throw this one up. Lindor haters are real quiet. That's absolutely right, because it's Mike Scott, by the way. Someone corrected me. Mike Scott. Show my age here. You know, Francisco Lindor, this is his season where he has cemented himself as one of the best players in franchise history and shown why the Mets gave him $341 million. He has been unbelievable. You go back to where this all started, the players only meeting, and I've talked about it so many times on the show, but it's worth repeating now as the Mets have done this incredible thing to get to the NLCS on Lindor's huge home run. Again, he sets up that meeting. They talk about accountability. He stands in front of the media for 13 minutes, answers every question, showing that he is adept at now being a leader in New York City. And he goes out the next day. The lineup wasn't good the next day. Francisco Lindor goes 4 for 4, puts the first run on the board with the home run. It just does everything. I believe he scored the winning run in that game. And time again, Francisco Lindor comes up in the big moment and comes through. Here he was, grand slam. And after an entire game where the Mets just could not get the big hit, they get the biggest hit. And all of a sudden, it goes from a game where it's just every run matters so much, and obviously it still did, but to have some breathing room for the end, it was just exactly what this team needed. And you watch this group celebrating, the tears streaming down Brandon Nimmo's face, tears streaming down Lindor's face, Mendoza, all these guys coming together. You look at these two clubs, and the Phillies, when these two teams met for the London series, the Phillies were the best team in baseball. They were riding the momentum of 2 deep playoff runs in 2022 and 2023. They were a team that had been together, and they hit the ground running. They were unbelievable to start the season. The Mets, not so much. They meet in that London series. The two teams part ways. The Phillies play basically 500 baseball for 4 months, and the New York Mets are the best team in the game. But because the Phillies had that padded record from early on, everyone believes they're going to win this series. Everyone still thinks that the Phillies are the team to beat. They're the favorites. The Mets are a better team than the Philadelphia Phillies, and they showed that in every single game this series.
Stay up to date on the New York Mets all year long by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Mets on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Jets fired the wrong coach. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And you can take aim at week 6 of the NFL with that $5 bet. This Sunday features a battle of 2 teams that entered 2024 with hope, but are now just trying to grasp at any relevance possible as the Jaguars travel to face the Bears. The Bears are 3-2. Chicago is favored at home, but only just. FanDuel has the Bears as 1.5-point favorites. So what are we waiting for? That's FanDuel.com to get started. Jets fired Robert Saleh this week after a lackluster start. As Locked On NFL host Tyler Rowland and Luke Braun discussed, though, they got the wrong guy.
The New York Jets let go of Robert Saleh, and it sounds like it was a contested situation with security walking him out of the building and all of that.
Surprise.
Right. It does sound insane. And I got to tell you, I think that the New York Jets made a big, big mistake here. I am not going to sit here and argue that Robert Saleh is some great coach or anything like that. I think that Robert Saleh is a middle-of-the-road head coach at the end of the day, but he consistently had that defense playing great football. They were top 5 in EPA per play this year, and I think that the worst coach on the staff is a coach that's going to stay around, and it's Nathaniel Hackett on offense. Nathaniel Hackett is not an NFL offensive coordinator. He's friends with Aaron Rodgers. He's an Aaron Rodgers merchant. And if the Jets wanted to make a change on the coaching staff, they should have just fired Nathaniel Hackett, but they can't because they're catering to Aaron Rodgers. It was a big mistake to let go of Robert Saleh in the middle of the season like this.
They are absolutely beholden to this weird deal with the devil that they've made with Aaron Rodgers. And no part of that organization was really loyal to Robert Saleh. So I guess that's why it's him and not Hackett. But to your point, that's not a merit decision. And we sort of expect these things to be decisions on merit, on who is the guy who is causing the problem, get him out of the building so that Jets fans can enjoy a better Jets team. And that's not what's happening here. This is 100% a decision made out of politics. I don't mean American politics. I mean company politics.
Here's the problem. They're right. Nathaniel Hackett is part of and certainly a bigger part of the problem in New York than Robert Saleh was. The defense was really good. The offense was kind of meh. It was not materially different than what we saw with Zach Wilson last year, and that is a damning description of Aaron Rodgers. Here is the problem. This is the offense that Aaron Rodgers wants to play. So you can talk about, hey, they don't use stacks, they don't use pre-snap motion, they don't use play action, they don't use all of the easy buttons that Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, Mike McDaniel, Kevin Stefanski, they don't use all of those like those teams do. They've been trying to sprinkle it in here and there, but this is the offense Aaron Rodgers wants to run. He engineered Nathaniel Hackett getting hired in New York because the Jets knew he's not coming from the Giants. The Jets knew he was coming. They knew he wanted to be there. Nathaniel Hackett is there because of Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers is there because of Nathaniel Hackett. You can't fire the quarterback. And in this case, that gives plot armor to Nathaniel Hackett. And because they couldn't fire the quarterback, they got the next closest guy that they could get anyway. And finally, if you're a National League team that makes the playoffs, you want to play the Milwaukee Brewers. They have become To borrow a movie reference, the Good Luck Chuck of the National League. Since the Brewers switched over to the NL, the opponents that they beat in the playoffs have gone on to not only be undefeated, a robust 9-0 in series play against the rest of the National League, but have won 14 of their ensuing 16 series overall. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That stat courtesy of Kurt Hogg, who covers the Brewers at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, will the Yankees send the ALDS back to the Bronx? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.